Have you ever opened a closet and had something tumble out? Or spent 20 minutes searching for important papers buried in piles of old mail? After decades of living, our homes become more than shelters. They become warehouses of memories, unused items, and things we keep just in case. But here's a truth many discover too late. Before you turn 70, there are certain household items you must declutter for a simpler, happier life. This isn't just about creating space. It's about creating freedom. It's about transforming your home from a storage facility back into a sanctuary. I've witnessed remarkable transformations. Margaret, who finally let go of 30 years of sentimental clutter and said she felt like a weight lifted from my shoulders. David, who discovered half his medicine cabinet contained expired medications. Their stories could be your story. If this resonates with you, drop your city in the comments below and hit that subscribe button for more life-changing insights. Let's start with the most emotionally challenging category, the one that might be holding you back the most. 1. Sentimental items that no longer serve you. Those faded photographs in shoeboxes, your children's art projects from elementary school, birthday cards from loved ones who've passed away, the china set you inherited but never use. These treasures connect us to our past, which is why they're often the hardest things to let go. I understand completely. Each item tells a story, holds a memory. But here's something many of us discover too late. Keeping everything doesn't preserve memories, it buries them under the weight of too much stuff. Take Margaret, for example. At 78, her 3-bedroom home had become a museum of memories. Closets stuffed with keepsakes, drawers filled with greeting cards dating back to the 1970s, boxes of souvenirs from trips taken decades ago. I kept everything because I was afraid of forgetting, she told me. But the truth was, I couldn't even find the things that mattered most. When her granddaughter came to visit and couldn't stay overnight because the guest room was too cluttered, Margaret realized something had to change. With tears in her eyes, she began the process of sorting through decades of memories. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, a psychologist specializing in aging, explains why this is so difficult. Our possessions become extensions of ourselves. Letting go can feel like losing a part of our identity or betraying someone we loved. But memory doesn't live in objects. It lives in us. Margaret discovered what I call the memory preservation system. First, she photographed meaningful items before letting them go, creating a digital album. Second, she journaled brief stories about special objects. And third, she selected just a few truly treasured items to keep and display prominently. The strangest thing happened, Margaret shared. Once I cleared away all those boxes, I actually remembered more. The special items I chose to keep brought me more joy because I could actually see and appreciate them. The relief on her face told the whole story. Her home felt spacious again. Her most precious memories were honored, not hidden. She felt lighter, freer. What about you? Is there a sentimental item you've been struggling to part with? Remember, letting go doesn't erase the past. It makes room for you to truly honor it and to fully enjoy your present. 2. Expired medications and old toiletries. Open your bathroom cabinet right now. Go ahead, I'll wait. How many expired medications do you see? Most of us don't realize we're housing a miniature pharmacy of outdated pills, creams, and syrups that not only take up space, but could actually be dangerous. Did you know that according to the FDA, some medications can become toxic after their expiration date? Others simply lose their effectiveness. That pain reliever you're keeping just in case might not work when you actually need it. David, a 76-year-old retired teacher, learned this lesson the hard way. When he experienced unexpected chest pain one night, he reached for his nitroglycerin tablets only to discover they had expired 3 years earlier. Thankfully, his neighbor drove him to the ER, where doctors told him expired heart medication could have been ineffective in a true emergency. I was shocked when I finally cleaned out my medicine cabinet, David told me. I found prescriptions from doctors I don't even see anymore. Some bottles were so old the labels had faded completely. Dr. Maria Gonzalez, a pharmacist with 30 years of experience, recommends a medication review every 6 months. Mark your calendar for daylight savings time changes, she suggests. When you adjust your clocks, check your medications too. For those of us who use multiple medications, there are helpful smartphone apps like MediSafe or MyMeds that send reminders when it's time to discard old medications. Even a simple note in your calendar can help. This is also a perfect opportunity to involve your adult children or a trusted friend. My friend Carol and her daughter make it a twice-yearly ritual to check expiration dates together. It gives my daughter peace of mind, Carol says, and honestly, I appreciate the help. Don't forget about toiletries, too. Those half-used bottles of lotion, old makeup, and forgotten bath products can harbor bacteria over time. Most skincare products last 6 to 12 months after opening. When was the last time you checked the expiration dates in your medicine cabinet? If you can't remember, today might be the perfect day to start. Your future self will thank you for it. 3. Old papers, documents, and unused mail. Is your dining table disappearing under piles of mail? Do you have drawers stuffed with papers just in case you might need them someday? You're not alone. Paper clutter is one of the most common challenges as we age, and one of the most overwhelming. Patricia, a 73-year-old retired accountant, had what she called the paper problem. Her home office contained tax returns dating back to 1982, instruction manuals for appliances she no longer owned, and stacks of magazines she intended to read when she had time. I was raised to keep important papers, Patricia explained. But somewhere along the way, everything started to feel important. When my granddaughter couldn't find space at my desk to do her homework, I knew I'd gone too far. The turning point came when Patricia needed her insurance policy after a minor home repair issue. I spent 3 days searching through papers. 3 days. That's when I realized this wasn't just clutter. It was stealing my time. What many of us don't consider is the hidden stress of paper clutter. Each piece of mail, each document, each scrap of paper represents a decision unmade, a task unfinished. This creates what psychologists call cognitive load, mental weight that exhausts us without physical exertion. I recommend what I call the 15-minute paper sorting system. Set a timer for just 15 minutes. Sort papers into 3 simple categories: action required, reference, and recycle. Do this daily, and within weeks, even mountains of paper become manageable. For important documents you rarely need but must keep, like tax returns, which the IRS recommends keeping for 7 years, consider digital alternatives. Simple smartphone apps like Genius Scan or Adobe Scan can turn paper documents into digital files you can store securely online. Patricia now keeps just one small file box for essential papers. Everything else is either digitized or discarded. I was worried I'd regret throwing things away, she admits. But honestly, I've never once missed anything I recycled. Remember, too, that old papers can pose identity theft risks. Always shred documents with personal information before discarding them. What's your biggest paper clutter challenge? Is it mail, old records, or maybe those instruction manuals for every appliance you've ever owned? Identifying your specific paper problem is the first step towards solving it. 4th, worn out and unused furniture. That recliner with the broken spring. The china cabinet displaying dishes you never use. The guest bed that hasn't welcomed a visitor in years. As we age, furniture that once served us well can gradually become obstacles rather than assets. Thomas, at 76, had lived in his 2-story colonial for over 40 years. Over time, his home had accumulated furniture from various life stages: his children's bedroom sets, his parents' dining table, and multiple pieces he'd purchased throughout the decades. "I never thought about it until I tripped over an ottoman and bruised my hip," Thomas told me. "My doctor asked how many furniture pieces I had to navigate around just to cross a room." That question stopped me cold. What Thomas discovered is something many of us don't consider. Furniture isn't just decoration. It defines how we move through our homes. And as we age, our need for clear pathways becomes increasingly important for safety. Sandra Miller, an interior designer specializing in aging in place, explains, "The right furniture in the right places can help maintain independence. Too much furniture or pieces in awkward positions can increase fall risk and make daily activities more difficult." I suggest using what I call the room function assessment. Ask yourself 3 simple questions about each piece. Do I use this regularly? Does it make movement easier or harder? Does it bring me joy or stress when I look at it? When Thomas applied these questions, he was surprised by his answers. The antique sideboard he'd inherited was beautiful but blocked the natural path to his kitchen. The coffee table with sharp corners had become a hazard he navigated around daily. The 4 extra dining chairs were simply obstacles. "I started with just one room, my living room," Thomas explained. "I removed 2 chairs, replaced the coffee table with a smaller round one, and suddenly the space felt twice as big. I could move freely without thinking about where to step." For furniture you decide to part with, consider local donation centers like Goodwill or Habitat for Humanity Restore. Many organizations will even pick up larger items from your home, making the process easier. Which room in your home feels most cluttered with furniture? Imagine how it might feel with just the pieces you truly use and love. That feeling of openness and freedom is waiting for you. 5. Clothes you never wear. Open your closet. Now be honest, what percentage of those clothes do you actually wear? For most of us over 50, the answer is surprising. Studies show the average American wears only 20% of their wardrobe regularly. The other 80%? Just taking up space and creating daily stress. Susan, a 72-year-old retired teacher, had what she called a clothing museum. Dresses from her teaching days, suits from the 80s with giant shoulder pads, and jeans that hadn't fit in years. Every morning she'd stand in front of her packed closet, feeling like she had nothing to wear. "I kept clothes for every possible occasion," Susan admitted. "Clothes that might fit again someday. Clothes I paid good money for but never really liked. Even clothes with the tags still on that I felt guilty about not wearing." What Susan didn't realize was how this overflowing closet affected her daily life. Psychologists have found that excessive choice can actually create anxiety rather than freedom. When faced with too many options, we often feel paralyzed. The solution isn't just throwing everything away, it's creating what I call a capsule wardrobe for seniors. This means keeping only clothes that fit your current body comfortably, suit your actual lifestyle, not an imagined one, and make you feel good when you wear them. Susan started by removing everything from her closet and creating 3 piles: love and wear regularly, maybe, and donate, chasse, discard. The maybe pile went into a box with a date 6 months in the future. If she hadn't reached for those items by that date, off they went without a second look. What surprised me most, Susan shared, was how many clothes I had that actually caused physical discomfort. Waistbands too tight, shoes that hurt my feet, fabrics that irritated my skin. Why was I keeping things that literally hurt me? Consider, too, how your clothing needs have changed. Many of us need clothes that are easier to put on as we age. Buttons might be challenging for arthritic fingers. Bending to tie shoes might be difficult. Your wardrobe should work for your body today. For special items with sentimental value, like a wedding dress or a beloved jacket, consider passing them to family members who might appreciate them now rather than storing them indefinitely. What percentage of your clothes do you actually wear? If you're brave enough to count, you might be surprised by the answer and inspired to make a change that simplifies your daily life. 6. Kitchen items you never use. That bread maker you used twice. The pasta machine still in its box. The special occasion china that's too delicate for everyday use. Our kitchens often become storage units for aspirational cooking rather than spaces that support the meals we actually prepare. Michael, at 74, was a widower who rarely cooked anymore. Yet his kitchen cabinets were packed with equipment, gadgets, and serving pieces accumulated over decades of family life. After my wife passed, I mostly stopped cooking, Michael explained, but I kept everything exactly as it was. Opening a cabinet meant risking an avalanche of plastic containers or rarely used pans. The turning point came when his granddaughter visited and wanted to bake cookies. We couldn't even find a mixing bowl without emptying half the cabinet onto the counter. I realized my kitchen had become an obstacle course. What Michael discovered is something many of us experience. Kitchens filled with items we don't use make cooking harder, not easier. And as we age, this can impact our nutrition and enjoyment of food preparation. I recommend the Kitchen Zones organization method. Divide your kitchen into activity areas: everyday cooking, baking, food storage, and special occasion items. Keep what you use weekly within easy reach. Move seasonal or occasional items to higher or lower storage. And be honest about what can go entirely. For Michael, this meant keeping just one set of everyday dishes rather than 3. It meant donating specialty appliances he no longer used. And it meant organizing his remaining items so he could reach them without stretching or bending. Important considerations as we age. Once I cleared out what I didn't use, cooking became enjoyable again, Michael shared. I could find what I needed without frustration. I even started making simple meals for myself instead of relying on frozen dinners. Consider, too, how your kitchen needs might change if you eventually downsize. Many retirement communities offer smaller kitchens with limited storage. Starting the paring down process now means less stress later. As you look around your kitchen, ask yourself, if I were moving next month to a place with half the storage, what would I absolutely need to take? This question often brings clarity about what truly matters. What kitchen gadget have you kept for years, but rarely or never use? That might be the perfect place to start your kitchen decluttering journey. As we've explored these 6 categories of items to declutter before turning 70, I hope you've felt a sense of possibility rather than overwhelm. Remember, this isn't about getting rid of everything. It's about intentionally choosing what deserves space in your home and life. Whether you start with sentimental items that tug at your heart or kitchen gadgets gathering dust, the goal is the same. Creating a home that supports the life you want to live now, not the life you lived decades ago. Begin with just one category that resonated with you today. Take small steps, celebrate your progress, and remember that every item you release creates space for something else. Perhaps not another possession, but space for ease, movement, and peace of mind. I'd love to hear which category you'll tackle first. Leave a comment below, and if you found this helpful, please subscribe for more practical advice on creating your best life after 50. Because the freedom that comes from letting go might be the greatest gift you give yourself in the years ahead.